Hello, I'm Jenny Fern and welcome to my library. I'm a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who's really into permaculture and wants to talk about books, so let's talk about books. Today we are exploring stories, pieces of literature that will scratch the Apothecary Diaries itch that I have in my soul because I am obsessed. Maomao is like my favorite character in the entire world. I just love this show. Like every character I'm so interested in. Every mystery is such a fun treat. I am caught up with the anime. I've read volumes 1, 2, 3, and 5 of the light novel series because volume 4 I'm still on hold on with the library. I just can't get enough. So I did watch a lovely video yesterday of book recommendations, media recommendations for if you like the Apothecary Diaries, so let me give that a shout out real quick. This was by Full Meta Analysis, and there were some books that I have jotted down from this. One was The Downstairs Girl by Stacey Lee, and the other was The Red Palace by June He. Those are books that I've pulled from that video, and I'm super excited to rewatch that and look at all of the books again. I decided short stories that I could sample and see if they're a good fit, and I love reading short fiction. So the first story is The Imperial Physician by Songling. Features a court doctor, poetic justice, medical ethics. There's also The Bookworm by Songling, which is where a scholar conjures beauty from books. It's dreamy, courtly, and clever. And there's The Tale of Li Hua, romance, status, and shame in an imperial setting. The Great Wall of China by Franz Kafka. I actually have this one. Surprisingly enough, I have actually started reading this one. It comes in this book of short stories after In the Penal Colony, which was just one of my favorite things that I've ever read by Kafka. The Great Wall of China. So I can read that. I didn't have wonderful impressions of it previously, and I think I actually skipped it because it seemed like it was just an essay. I just finished The Great Wall of China by Franz Kafka, and this is a weird one. This is a combination of like a story and an essay, because it is told from the perspective of a laborer of the Great Wall of China, and yet it is really just a reflection on building a wall and the method in which the wall was built, and then just kind of about imperialism and like the concept of having an emperor over such a vast area. So there were lots of really interesting lines. I will admit this was a difficult read for me. It's not necessarily easy to read. It's not necessarily easy to understand. I'm not going to pretend that I do understand all of it. But there were some really interesting lines. Especially, I thought, when we were considering the emperor himself, just kind of what is going on with the emperor, I thought that was really interesting, like his mortality. So vast is our land that no fable could do justice to its vastness. The heavens can scarcely span it, and Peking is only a dot in it, and the imperial palace less than a dot. The emperor as such, on the other hand, is mighty throughout all the hierarchies of the world, admitted. But the existent emperor, a man like us, lies much like us on a couch, which is of generous proportions perhaps, and yet very possibly may be quite narrow and short. Like us, he sometimes stretches himself, and when he is very tired yawns, with his delicately cut mouth. But how should we know anything about that, thousands of miles away in the south, almost on the borders of the Tibetan highlands? This line, to me, is Jinshi. Like us, he sometimes stretches himself, and when he is very tired, yawns with his delicately cut mouth. Just the fact that Jinshi is rejecting his, like, imperial duties and is like, I'd rather pretend to be a eunuch. And then he, in his most relaxed moments, becomes a bit childish. I do love the way that this humanizes the emperor, really reflects on how it's just a guy. The emperor is just a guy. The empire is immortal, but the emperor himself totters and falls from his throne. Yes, the whole dynasties sink in the end and breathe their last in one death rattle. Of these struggles and sufferings, the people will never know. Like tardy arrivals, like strangers in a city, they stand at the end of some densely thronged side street, peacefully munching the food they have brought with them, while far away in the front, the market square at the heart of the city, the execution of their ruler is proceeding. I do love that this is from the perspective of somebody initially starting about the construction of the Great Wall. It sounds very essay. It sounds really like we're just going to learn about how the Great Wall was constructed, and we do to some extent. And he talks about, like, when he was a boy here. I can still remember quite well us standing as small children, scarcely sure on our feet, in our teacher's garden, and being ordered to build a sort of wall out of pebbles. And then the teacher, girding up his robe, ran full tilt against the wall, of course knocking it down, and scolded us so terribly for the shoddiness of our work that we ran weeping in all directions to our parents. He talks about the construction of the wall and the spirit of building the wall and how it was done piece by piece. But then it really becomes about empire and how even on the outskirts of this empire, they are still a part of the empire. The way that this happens is because they just don't consider anything being in the present. Like, anything that gets to them as a communication from the capital is, like, so long drawn out, comes from such a long distance, that everything is in the past. I am happy that I pushed through and read this, because I definitely had read maybe the first 2 pages of this, and I was like, boring. It starts... The Great Wall of China was finished off at its northernmost corner. From the southeast and the southwest, it came in 2 sections that finally converged there. This principle of piecemeal construction was also applied on a smaller scale by both of the 2 great armies of labor, the eastern and the western. It was done in this way. Gangs of some 20 workers were formed who had to accomplish a length, say, of 500 yards of wall, while a similar gang built another stretch of the same length to meet the first. But after the junction had been made, the construction of the wall was not carried on from the point. Let us say, where this 1,000 yards ended, instead the 2 groups of workers were transferred to begin building again in quite different neighborhoods. So you could maybe imagine why I didn't continue reading this. I am hoping, desperately hoping, that the other works that I have to read are more the essence of what I'm looking for when I want something that's similar to Apothecary Diaries. So I finally found a copy of The Imperial Physician. It's a very, very short story. It's 2 pages long. So I'm going to read that right now. I did also read another short story because I thought perhaps it was the right one. I was getting kind of put into different directions. So I also ended up reading The Doctor. And The Doctor didn't impress me very much. It's just about a guy who kind of accidentally becomes a doctor, and he accidentally cures an important figure, and then he starts charging a lot for his services. He, I will say, reminds me of the Quack Doctor a little bit. So I just finished reading The Imperial Physician, and this follows this character, Sun Pingxi, who his mom has vowed chastity after his dad dies, and he wants to make sure she's honored properly. He's been, like, moving up the ranks, and he reaches the rank of Jinshi. Did we know that this was the origin of the name Jinshi? I assume. Jinshi is a successful candidate in the highest level of the Imperial Civil Service examination. So happy that I got that little nugget. He goes to this doctor because he is ill. He goes to the Imperial Physician. The Imperial Physician arrives too late. The son has already died. And he performs moxibustion, which is like, you like light like sections of people on fire, kind of. You like heal with fire. And then son comes back to life, and he's given the stipulation not to eat bear or tiger meat. Sounds like no problem. And guess what he does? He ends up eating bear. My SD card was so full, so I tried to speedrun my summary and my feelings about that last story that we read. I think I was saying he died and I heard the camera turn off. Basically, I really enjoy these stories. I am thinking, like, I wonder how much inspiration for the mysteries and the plot lines from the Apothecary Diaries does come from older source material like this. I'm actually very curious about that. The other story that I am looking to read next is the story of Miss Li. I'm pretty sure this is also called The Tale of Li Hua. It has been really hard finding these works, even though they are in the public domain. I don't know what it is about it. It's just been very difficult to find exactly the short little piece that I want. So I did read a little bit of the Wikipedia article, and it sounds pretty interesting. There's a young scholar who goes to the capital to study for the Imperial exams, and there he falls for a beautiful courtesan. It is a bit longer. It's more of like a novella length, I'm pretty sure. We will see. I'm not intending to try to like speedrun it tonight. I don't even know when I started this. It feels like it's been a long time. It is now the 1st of July. I have been reading the story of Miss Li by Xingjian. I am actually getting more and more interested in knowing how to actually pronounce these things. So we'll see if I get any better over time. I had a few lines that I highlighted because of their relevance to Apothecary Diaries. There is a line that says, "The young man answered, 'All I care about is to win her. I do not mind if she costs £1,000,000. And this reminded me of Lihaku and Pyrene. As the story has progressed, I think Miss Li is duplicitous, so maybe a little different than the Pyrene thing. This says, "But my daughter is of humble birth. Are you sure she is fit to present pillow and mat to a great man?" I just thought that this line, present pillow and mat to a great man, oh, okay, maybe this is something that I can utilize in my fanfiction that I'm writing. I'm writing a fanfiction now, hi. This was not enough. I will continue reading it and let you know my feelings. Hello. I finished reading the story of Miss Li the other day, so I have some opinions to share. There was a reference in this work to this particular burial song, and it was like the garlic burial song, because the guy becomes like a professional mourner for some portion of his life, and I went and found the referred to song, and it is "The dew on the garlic leaf, sung at the burial of kings and princes. How swiftly it dries, the dew on the garlic leaf. The dew that dries so fast, tomorrow will fall again. But he whom we carry to the grave will never more return." I find it really interesting. It's such an interesting, like, way to mourn. Like, the dew always returns, and this person will never return again. I am going into spoilers on this. Hopefully it's okay. If you don't want spoilers, just click away now. In the story, he falls in love with this woman, like, upon first sight. Her and her mother, like, play this trick on him where they take him to her aunt's house, and then she, like, leaves. She's like, "Oh my god, my dad is dying. I have to go." And then they just, like, pack up and move. And he tries to find her, and they're just gone. They're just gone. Like, and he's, like, I'm pretty sure he's, like, married her at that point. So anyway, he is left, like, completely without anything that he had. And he meets his father again. And it says, "But his father abused him, saying, 'Your conduct has disgraced the family. How dare you show your face again?' So saying, he took him out of the house and led him to the ground between the Chu Chang Pond, and the Apricot Gardens. Here he stripped him naked and thrashed him with his horsewhip till the young man succumbed to the pain and collapsed. Then the father left him and went away. Straight up, there was like a period of time where this guy was like near death after this beating. He gets helped and like revived. I can't remember how this happens, but he meets the woman again, the Miss Lee who he's fallen in love with. And she says, "It's been my doing that you have been brought to this pass." And with these words, she swooned. Her mother came running up in great excitement, asking who had arrived. Miss Lee, recovering herself, said who it was. The old woman cried out in rage, "Send him away. What did you bring him in here for?" Miss Lee is like, "No, actually, I love him. Mom, you're not the boss of me. I'm in love with this man." And she goes with this man now that he has nothing. And she helps him study for like his exams and stuff. And so at the point where they're studying for exams, she says, "But your unfortunate conduct and disreputable past put you at a disadvantage beside your fellow scholars. You must grind, temper, and sharpen your attainments that you may secure a second victory." So she helps him, recovers him to this point where he is like a successful man again after being a beggar and like just completely at a loss with his life. And she says, "Now that you are restored to your proper station in life, I will not be a burden to you. Let me go back and look after the old lady till she dies. You must ally yourself with some lady of noble lineage who will be worthy to carry the sacrificial dishes in your ancestral hall. Do not injure your prospects by an unequal union. Goodbye, for now I must leave you." The young man burst into tears and threatened to kill himself if she left him, but she obstinately refused to go with him. This is like real Lacan Fengshen vibes. Am I wrong? The story has been related to the guy who is writing the story down. How strange that we should find in the conduct of a prostitute a degree of constancy rarely equaled even by the heroines of history. Surely the story is one which cannot but provoke a sigh. And that's it. So it has a happy ending. It really reminded me of Lacan and Fengshen, how so much went terribly wrong in their relationship, how they both suffered so greatly and lost so much, but they did like love each other dearly and then came together in the end with like only their love for each other. Really reminded me of that whole story, even though it was completely different, and I enjoyed it, so I'm happy I read that. I also did end up reading something that is completely different, but it had this scene of these fox mask people. I was reading the manga Aria, which is a totally different story completely, but just this procession of fox masked people, I was like, oh my god, Apothecary Diaries is everywhere in my brain. Those are the works that I read. I really did have a good time. I am excited to read more works, especially now that I am working on a fan fiction based on the Apothecary Diaries. I would love to do my own reading into like source materials to get inspiration. So I'm really excited to try to incorporate that kind of stuff into my own writing. And I had a great time. So if you enjoyed this, please consider sharing it with a friend who you think would also enjoy it, and consider liking and subscribing, and I will be back again soon.